Shearer for Newcastle! The way he brought that down was fabulous. Cantona!
Aguero! Only football can make you feel like this. Yes, we're back again, boys. Episode 2 of the Shooting Zars Euros podcast. I'm Stuart Marshall, joined by Bryce, Conway and Alex Grant. And I think we're all buzzing, boys, because we just had the intro music in our ears at the start of an episode for real instead of having to cut it in later. But anyway, how are we going?
Fantastic. All the better for hearing that. That was amazing.
Yeah, it gives me shivers every time still. So, yeah, we're back again, boys, and we got a bumper show planned. Put a bit of prep into this one for the listeners, but there's been so much going on over the past. When did we last speak? Last Wednesday, I believe it was. We're recording this Thursday night, the 10th of June, at 10:34 here in Sydney, so it's a late one. But yeah, so much has happened over the past week. Obviously, you got the Euros, lots of Australian football news, and then obviously you got transfers and all sorts of other stuff going on in the Premier League. But yeah, big show coming up. But before we do get there, we just got to remind everybody that is listening. Head over to our socials. So we got an Instagram page at Shooting Zars. We've got a Twitter at Zars Shooting. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. But yeah, it's been a big few days, nonetheless, for Alex Grant, who actually featured on a different podcast last night, didn't he? The soccer podcast, the fellow Australian football podcast, doing their bit. Granty, the special guest. I had to listen today, mate. Quite the laugh it was. How was it?
Yeah,
Give us a debrief.
No, it was a great chat with Trent and Joe, like you said, on the soccer on the soccer podcast. Get it right, come on. I know, sorry lads. It was great. We had a talk about various different things. The boys were chipping in with stats about Korea, which I wasn't aware of, and so they were helping with my knowledge and whatnot. And it was good. Just a really good pod. I won't say it's as good as ours, but it's. I probably made it better.
It's different. They got their own thing going on.
Yeah, they do have their own thing going on, and it's it's definitely a different feel, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bryce, you said you haven't heard it yet, but the soccer podcast, boys, what do you think Alex got up to? Got up to a bit of mischief, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, definitely. It's been great seeing those ads run the podcast the past couple of years and grow. It's been awesome to see, and obviously the SOKKAH is really prevalent in Australia, and that word is so it's good to see Twitter. Get a big run like that. It's just fantastic. Yeah, soccer Twitter is just phenomenal shithousery there. So it's good to see. Good to see Al, building his brand image and brand personality. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the main thing, I guess, out of this. Is Alex is just building his profile even more away from us, and that's what we want. But yeah, go follow the soccer podcast at soccer podcast, SOKKAH podcast. You can find them on Twitter and Instagram. Alex featured on their latest episode, which dropped today, the 10th of June, I believe. But yeah, they run a podcast weekly. But I guess with that in mind, Alex, if you're still there, I can't really see your screen right now for those that are watching on the video. He seems to have cut out.
I've cut out. I can see him fine. It's all good. No.
The video. No, we got you. You're still there. It'll come back.
Okay.
For the listeners that maybe are listening for the first time this series as well, we are the Shooting Zars. I figured we didn't really tell everybody who we were and why we exist. Why did we come together? We came together 3 years ago to do the World Cup pod. Granty was playing at the Perth Glory. Brycey was working at the Perth Glory, and then I had access to a radio studio. So we all came together and did a World Cup podcast. It continued into the Prem. Now we're back to do the Euros. So that's just a little bit about us. And obviously we had our first episode last week. And towards the end of the episode last week, Granty posed a question to the listeners, or mainly to Bryce and us, I suppose, for us to come back to in this episode. And for those that maybe heard or watched the episode or listened to the episode last week, this is what the question was.
Can you name the four players to have played in the Manchester derby the Merseyside derby and El Clasico.
All right. I didn't put a call out on the Twitter or Instagram or anyone to answer that question. So, Bryce, I'm going to just throw this one straight over to you, mate.
Yeah.
Can you please answer that question?
Yeah, I had a Steve McManaman was the one I got straight away.
Mm-hmm.
I remember him famously going to Madrid, killing it there, like in Copa Mundials as well, amongst some of the biggest Galacticos, which was amazing. Started at Liverpool and then ended his Premier League career at City towards the end there. Michael Owen, the mercenary, he's another one. Struggled in Madrid after moving from Liverpool and then went to Manchester United at the end and famously scored the winner against City. So that was to tick off the third. And the other one I got was Les Salk, Nicholas Anelka. I think he's been in every single derby in world football, the amount that bloke travelled. So they're the three I got. I wasn't able to get four. I scribbled them down after the podcast last week. I wasn't able to get the fourth. So I'm happy for Granty to enlighten me here.
Alex, please fill in the gaps there. How'd he go?
Yeah, he did all right. 3 out of 4. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, he did good. Did good, Bryce. I'm surprised you got the Anelka one is the one I struggle with.
Yeah.
Because I don't have memory of him really playing at Real Madrid. So, was he there long?
Not a few years, but it was like early 2000s.
I think
I watched his doco recently, so that's why I knew. Yeah,
I honestly think it was one season after he played at Arsenal.
Okay, yeah, I watched his
2000, 2001 or
like literally 2001. He came to Arsenal and then he went to Madrid for literally a year.
Yeah, it was a weird situation. Just an odd footballer. Yeah, it seemed like he had a lot going on.
Yeah, but the one you're missing, Sparky, Mark Hughes.
Geez, Gareth Morgan would be flat that I didn't get that one.
Gareth definitely would have got it.
Welsh wizard, Mark Hughes. Yeah, wow.
All right, so give us who was it? Just name him again for us, Alex. It was Mark Hughes,
Michael Owen, Steve McManaman,
Michael Owen,
Nicholas Anelka.
Yep,
they're the 4.
There we go. So for those that were wondering, that is the answer to that question. Don't know if Alex has got another one prepared, but maybe next time we do a question, we'll put a call out to the listeners and get them to answer it. But anyway,
I want one every week, Al. I love those.
Yeah, sorry, lads. I've kind of come a bit unprepared tonight, so I'll have to scrounge one out from somewhere next week or on the next day.
Yeah, for the next step for sure. Oh, there he is. His video's back. This is going to be a funny YouTube video to watch.
Is
Alex,
it me? Am I just coming in and out?
Yeah.
I've seen him the whole time.
Yeah, I can see me the whole time.
If you're listening on the podcast version, you got to go and watch the YouTube video. Hilarious. Anyway, let's actually get to the discussion, I guess. It's been what a day today is. The 10th of June, 2021. What a day it may prove to be in changing, Australian football, I suppose. Ange Postecoglou, formerly of Melbourne Victory, Brisbane Roar, the Socceroos coach, and now the Yokohama F Marinos. Ange Postecoglou, the greatest Aussie coach in history, has been confirmed as the new Celtic Football Club manager today. Quite a momentous day. I don't think we can really downplay the size of this, Bryce. We spoke about this on the last podcast last week. We weren't sure whether it was going to happen, but it's happened. And wow-wee, what a day it may be, and what a move for Postecoglou and Aussie football, as I said.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think I can't remember a bigger appointment in Australian football coaching history, really, to be honest. So I'm happy to be proven wrong there, but from my memory, it's just Celtic are a massive, massive club. Obviously, Champions League winners in Lisbon years ago, and they've been they've set the standard in the Scottish Premier League for years, and it's just termed their global reach as well. It's not just on field; they're a well-known brand, and with a lot of history. So I just think it's fantastic for Postecoglou, and I think he can be that kind of pioneer in a way for Aussie coaches, garnering a bit more respect and getting that chance in Europe if he's able to make a name for himself there.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Celtic have, the amazing players they've had over the years. They also have won the European Cup all those years ago. I believe they were the first maybe the first British team. Actually, I could be wrong there, but they've won the European Cup, for God's sakes. And only 2 managers ago, Brendan Rodgers, who's just guided Leicester to the FA Cup and is doing wonders in the Premier League, was their manager. So it's kind of, it's like for Postecoglou, who was plying his trade in Japan, to get a chance like this. It's kind of what he's been building towards, Alex, isn't it? He's been quite vocal about that and about his desire to get into Europe and his willingness to sort of stay and work through Asia in order to get a pathway into Europe. It's definitely happened, and it hasn't happened at a small club, that's for sure. What was your immediate reaction when this all went down today, or when you found out the news?
Yeah, I just saw it earlier on BBC Sport, and I think it's like we touched on last week, and Bryce has just mentioned that what an opportunity for him breaking into European football after coming off the back of success in the J League and winning the league over there, and his success with the Socceroos. He's got all the credentials to break in and put a stamp on things and do well over there. So it's an exciting opportunity for him, and it'd be interesting to see if he brings anyone in with him and the kind of players he looks to sign. And obviously, Celtic were going for the record 10th consecutive
league title.
Yeah, before
Stevie G and Rangers
swooped in, mate.
He did. Yeah. So he's really got. I think that's probably the biggest challenge he's got, is kind of winning the fans back. And I think Neil Lennon brought a lot of success to the club, but by the end of his tenure, I think the fans were kind of gunning for him to go. So he's got to bring the success back and win trophies and knock Stevie G and the Rangers off the perch, I think. But it's going to be tough ask because they're playing lovely football, and he's got them playing nice. Do you think Stevie G will stay, Bryce?
I don't know. He got touted for the Everton job, which was baffling, but I think he should stay for another year at least, and see what's on the table then. I think the jobs that are available now are quite big in European football at the moment. Some of the major ones like Spurs, Everton, and that. So I think I'd go one more year. I know you'd think with all the momentum that you could leverage a big move, but I know I'd be cautious with that. And I'd if I was him, I'd take another year and try and build a bit of a dynasty with the Rangers.
Yeah, either way, it's going to be fascinating. Isn't that just like Ange Postecoglou is going to be managing against Steve Gerrard? It's crazy. It's just it's crazy the Aussie names that have sort of been at Celtic in years gone by. We spoke about it last week. Tommy Rogic is obviously still there. Daniel Arzani had a short stint there. Scott McDonald throughout the noughties, the mid-2000s was there, banging in the goals. Let's not forget Mark Viduka spent some time at Celtic in the late 90s as well. But
Vidmar, was Vidmar there as well? At Rangers? He was at Rangers. Rangers, I think he was.
Yeah, Craig Moore was at Rangers as well. So Aussies do have an affiliation with Scottish football. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, it's just amazing, for Postecoglou, who wasn't even managing in Europe, to get such a big job, because I think any manager in Europe would probably want to get the Celtic job, I would suspect. But
yeah, and the goal's clear for him now as well, isn't it? It's just like if he's going to be the barometer for his success will be winning back the Scottish Premier League title. So it's a big tough ask for his first big European job, because if he doesn't win it, it'll be deemed a failure by their fans. So what a great opportunity, though. I just think it's fantastic.
How long do you think he's got?
Well, this is the question, right? Because he's signed a 12-month rolling contract, so he's only got 12 months to start, I guess. But that's a good question, Bryce. I don't know. What do you reckon?
I think he has to win the league or go extremely close. So I just think at Celtic, with their standards, if they don't win the league, it's an utter failure for them. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know how patient they're going to be and how patient their fans will be. So because there will always be another manager in the waiting to take that job. So I think he's going to be hot in his heels there and try and win it back as soon as possible.
Well, that's it. You said it could go close, but I don't think close is going to cut it at the end of the day.
No, I think you're right.
In Scotland, it's generally a 2-horse race.
It's black and white for them, yeah.
And if you ain't first, you're last. So
yeah,
in the name of Ricky
I
Bobby.
mean, it's just going to be so fascinating to watch. Imagine if Postecoglou wins Celtic a league title. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's real in a way. But
I'm just glad we're able to talk about that and mention the
I
clubs
know,
and that
it's
breadth and an
crazy,
Aussie
eh?
manager. It's just
It's
fantastic.
insane. Yeah. And then at the same token, you got Harry Kewell getting a job at Barnet today, the Bees in the Conference National or the National League. So he's still chugging away in England there. He hasn't had the greatest success, I suppose, in the lower leagues, but let's hope he can turn it around. But there's two Aussie coaches, I guess, in big jobs in the men's game. And, of course, yesterday in the women's game, Joe Montemurro from Arsenal women's team was appointed the Juventus FC women's team. So this was a manager who spent a lot of time. He's been at Arsenal for 4 years, and he spent a lot of time in Australia coaching Melbourne City, I believe, and another team. But he's been around the block, was a player as well. But that was only yesterday that he got appointed that job as well. So in the past 2 days, we've had two Aussie managers take two of the biggest jobs in Europe in the men's and women's game. Bryce, what do you make of all that? Massive. He's a Juventus fan as well from a little boy. It's like a bit of a Cinderella story, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's been one of those managers that's been kind of the jet setter there and really pushing the boundaries in terms of professionalism in the W League, and he got his reward with Arsenal. What a start to get at such a massive and historic club, and then he's continued that success, made the most of his opportunities there with Arsenal. I believe he won a title there as well, so I think it's fantastic for him to get this opportunity. And just I think these moments and these key signings, like Montemurro to Juve and Ange to Celtic, it's like those days in the early 2000s, mid 2000s when you got Harry Kewell signing for the likes of Liverpool, when you got Dukes at the likes of Newcastle, Stewie. I mean, you'll remember that day. But it's like those big moments, like that kind of sets up the country in terms of getting recognition for their quality. So I'm hoping now they can make the most of it, like Kewell and Viduka did on the biggest of stages in Europe, and trying to blaze a trail for the next generation there and inspire those coaches to keep coming through.
Yeah. Grunty, what do you reckon? Big couple of days for Aussie coaches. Obviously, Popper's been over there as well, an ex-coach of yours. I'm sure he'll get another crack. Kevin Muscat's being touted as being Postecoglou's assistant. I don't know how true those reports are. I know he was in Belgium, Kevin Muscat, trying to manage. He was managing a team in Belgium. I can't remember what one it was right now. But big moves, I guess, like you say, Bryce. Back in the day, it was the players that were making waves in Europe, and now it's there's two at least, but it's funny that it's the coaches, which I guess you never would have predicted, Alex.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think it's kind of easy for managers to always come back to the A-League as it is with players, I guess, as well. Once you break away from the A-League, it's I find that, generally players find it quite easy to come back, and it's kind of got a bad reputation, I think, for, recycling players, but that's just the way it is. So once players or managers get opportunities in Europe, it's, really important that they take it with both hands, really, and do everything they can to stay there, because it is really cutthroat over there, and you've seen that, with some of the examples that we've had with foreign players and managers in Europe.
For sure. Yeah. Big couple of days on the coaching front. We'll be following Postecoglou. I'm pretty sure every Aussie now will have a keen interest in watching the Scottish Premier League, which I saw a tweet before that was like, from 2020, not one Aussie wanted to watch the Scottish Premiership, but now every football fan in Australia we were wanting to. I just thought it was pretty funny. But anyway, moving on, I guess. But yeah, big couple of days in the coaching front. Let's talk about the games, I guess. Let's start with the Socceroos results. We'll have a quick look at that. They had two World Cup qualifiers. Australia beat Chinese Taipei 5-1 and Kuwait 3-0. So pretty, I guess, obviously you'd expect them to win those games, but they're well on track to qualify now. They're looking all right, the Socceroos, I guess. I mean, from those two games, maybe it's hard to tell, Alex, but heading into the World Cup, heading into the Olympics, World Cup qualification, is that one step closer? Couldn't get my words out there. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, which one we talking about? The Olympics or the World Cup?
No.
We're confused now. Is there a World Cup coming up?
No. You know what I mean? I'm just saying the two results were good heading into the Olympics. But yeah, how do you sort of look at the Socceroos team after those games?
Yeah, I think the squad's probably changed a fair bit over the last couple of years. A lot of new faces in there and players who've featured and haven't now been included. And, there's been a lot of chops and changes, I think, amongst the squad. But I think one thing is quite exciting about it is we have got, a lot of depth within, Australian football. And Graham Arnold doesn't seem too scared of dipping into the A-League and pulling players out of there when needed and if they're doing well. And you've seen that, you've got like Curtis Good, who's had a fantastic season, and, a couple of other boys as well. And then you've got the lads who are playing in Europe and overseas as well, who always contribute. And I think it's just exciting to see that the amount of depth they've got in the squad, especially young players as well. So it's an exciting prospect for the future major tournaments, I think.
Did you would have come up against Curtis Good in the A-League, Alex?
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah, same position.
Yeah, you guys are similar players, I guess, because he was, me being a Newcastle United fan, was obviously signed from Melbourne Heart all those years ago straight to England, but for whatever reason...
Yeah, I think he was on a long-term deal over at Newcastle, I think, back in the day.
Yeah, he was.
And I think he just got like a lot of injuries when he was younger, yeah. And then he obviously... similar path to me in a sense, and came back to Australia and obviously saw that as, that side step rather than a backward step. And look at him now in the Socceroos. So just won the league with Melbourne City and flying.
What was he like as a player, though? I mean, just I suppose similar to you. And I mean, would you say that your games are quite similar in that regard?
Yeah, similar enough, but nah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, good on the ball, composed, strong, good in the air. Just a solid defender. To be honest with you, I mean, I'm saying that, but you don't really take too much notice of your opposition when you're playing, and ask me about Perth Glory players, I'll tell you everything. But yeah,
no, that's fair. Yeah, all right. Yeah, Socceroos looking good. The Matildas, of course, they got a game tomorrow, a friendly against Denmark. Sam Kerr was named to the WSL Team of the Year in England after claiming the Golden Boot. Bryce, wish you win the Ballon d'Or.
Please. That'd be great. That'd be a good few weeks for Australian football if that were to be the case. I'm just so glad she's on the big stage. I think she could have left earlier from Glory and gone on the European stage. I bet she was a great servant to the club at Perth Glory and did so much for them, winning so many golden boots and bringing them to a couple grand finals as well. But it's just so cool having someone of her backgrounds, being born and raised in Perth and playing for Chelsea and being in a Champions League final, and then being player of the season. It's just unreal to have an Australian player being in the same conversations as those kind of competitions and winning those accolades. It's unreal.
Yeah, for sure. It's she keeps breaking records and getting in teams of the year and doing all these things. So let's hope she can win that prize. And as I mentioned, the Matildas are versing Denmark in a friendly tomorrow morning, the 11th of June. I believe 2 a.m. Sydney time. So if you want to watch that or catch that up, you can after that date. Just a quick one on an ex-teammate of yours, Alex, Ryan Williams, Aussie. You were with him at Portsmouth. He's just left Portsmouth for the second time after having a fairly good stint there. I had a look today. He's gone to Oxford United, but I suppose he left Portsmouth all those years ago only to get re-signed, in the past couple of years and actually carve out a couple of good years there. But he's off to Oxford United. What do you make of all that? And
Ryan, I used to live with him when we first moved over to the UK, and we spent 2 years together, living in Portsmouth in digs with like a shared host family. and then he got signed by Fulham, I believe it was. I got picked up by them, and Ryan's done really well. To be fair to him, he's managed to have, carve out a decent career in the Championship and League One, and he's had a few loans. I think Oxford was one of his loan moves from Fulham a few years ago, and like I said, like you said, he's making a return there. So yeah, they just missed out on promotion this year. I think they lost in the playoffs to Blackpool, so they'll be looking to go one better. And obviously, Ryan sees that as an opportunity, or a better opportunity than staying at Pompey. I mean, Pompey are a massive club, but they seem to have lost quite a few players over the last few days. So it'll be interesting to see how they go next year.
Absolutely. But, one to watch. And obviously for you, for you, I mean, leaving Portsmouth again, obviously where you started. All right, back home, let's have a quick look at the A-League. There's been a couple big stories over the past couple days. There's been some transfer news. Obviously, Davir has gone from Wellington to MacArthur.
Has it?
Brandon O'Neill's, that's confirmed. Brandon O'Neill's been rumoured to go back to Perth Glory. Jason Davidson's, it broke today that he might be off to the Victory. I think Garby broke that on Twitter. Mark Ruden's been sacked by Western United for them finishing rock bottom. But the big one was the change in the salary cap rule, I guess. Alex, just want to get your thoughts on that. They're thinking of bringing in the Beckham rule. For those that maybe don't know, it's more buying power, I guess, which can go outside the salary cap. What do you think about that, changing the salary cap rule?
I think is it only for certain players, is it? What's the specifics, do you know?
I'll get the specifics up.
Yeah, let's investigate here. Grant, you were all over this last week, mate. You were spitting it out like you wrote the rules.
Well, just talk broadly about changing the salary cap rule. And I mean, what do you think? You think, obviously, I think any football fan in this country, in Australia, thinks it's necessary. But as a player, what do you think about the whole system?
Look, I'm a big believer in, abolishing the salary cap and getting rid of it altogether. But there's obviously people within I think COVID affected everything. It's had a massive effect financially on the league, and we took cuts last year as players, and a lot of things happened off the park that probably wasn't really highlighted too much in the media. And even though we had backing from the PFA and whatnot, we probably didn't really voice it as loudly as what we should have. And we did. We took a really big cut that was made out to be much less, I think, than what it actually was. And I think because of that, I think just the logistics now of getting rid of the salary cap, it just puts so much stress on the clubs who, obviously, even this season, there's been times when, they've not had fans in the stadium, so the money's not always been coming in again this season. It's so hard to generate revenue when you're competing with 4 or 5 other codes who, in Australia, are all very successful. And I think the Australian public in general, I think as sports fans, they generally go where the success is. So like in Perth, I mean, people love the sport, but if the Eagles and the Dockers are playing well and the Glory aren't, or the Force for that matter, Bryce, I'll give them a shout out as well, they're going to go to them. So I think that's just the way it is. Whereas, across Europe, people are loyal to the clubs, whether they're losing or they're winning. And don't get me wrong, there's still always a dip in attendances, but you generally find that solid core base of fans who always go to the games.
Now I guess you've had a bit of time removed from the whole salary cap issues and all that from the A-League, like from last season when COVID hit. I mean, how do you, can you tell us more about what that actually was like, and how do you feel about how the league handled it and all that, if you're willing to share, I guess?
I guess I'll touch on it a little. it was a long time ago now. It was almost a year and a half ago. It seems like we've been going through this for a long time. But I think off the top of my head, I think we took a cut. I think it was like 73%. I can't remember, or 77%. Which, who in the right mind would do that? But in order to keep the game afloat, well, we were told that was the only way forward, and the players had to take cuts. So it was a bit of pill to swallow, and I think the lads in the end just kind of caved in, and we showed a hand and kind of in a way got walked over. But
walked over by who? Like walked over by what governing body or who?
I think it was just the owners, and they were pressuring the league, and the league was then pressuring the PFA, and we were at the bottom of the pecking order, so it kind of just went on to us. And to be fair, the PFA reps, the lads, the players who represented us, did a really good job, and especially after COVID and we came back, there was further conversations then with the governing bodies and the owners and whatnot to then go and take the right foot forward going on into the future. And I think they did that in the end. Obviously I left in January, so I can't remember whether they were still negotiating at the time, but I think the players learned a bit from their experiences earlier on in the year that they weren't to be messed with in a way.
Anyway, let's get to the Euros, because I guess many people are probably tuning into this thinking we're going to talk about the Euros when we spent half an hour talking about other things. But anyway,
I know last week it was 20 minutes on me, and I've been listening to it back and I was thinking, are we even going to get to the Euros? We might miss it.
Mate, you thought you were on the plane there by the end of that one.
Oh. Anyway, it killed 20 minutes, and, we've done the same today, so we're here now.
All right. Boys, there's been some big friendlies over the past couple of days. Did you manage to take a watch of any results, or what have we made of it, Bryce? Portugal, mate, Spain, France, they've all been in action. Portugal, Spain and France have all got wins.
It just gets the juices flowing, seeing the big nations compete like this close to a tournament. It's unreal. The most interesting one, obviously, for England is having Trent Alexander-Arnold. After all that conjecture over who should be the fourth bloody right back in the squad, he's gone down injured. So lucky he's got 3 others in the wings, and then Ben White of Brighton coming into the squad. And there was quite a few complaints that James Ward-Prowse still doesn't get a look in after the season he's had with Southampton. So that was interesting, but it doesn't seem to be flowing amazingly in front of goal for England. Like, they're getting chances, but Benzema's back for France. He suffered a little niggle, but apparently he's going to be right for the tournament, which is good to hear. And the biggest thing I'm worried about is France's kits are just underwhelming this time. Usually France's kits are just like peak football fashion. They've always got the best. I reckon out of besides Liverpool shirts, the most I've got is France shirts. They're so good, but this year's a bit bland. That's my hot take. France kits, man.
Granty, did you see the Portugal 4 Israel 0 result last night?
You watched it, didn't you?
No.
Good guess.
Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Was it? Oh,
yeah.
Stayed up late for that one.
Your man Bruno Fernandes at the double. But tell you what, Portugal are their front 4: Ronaldo, Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Diogo Jota, Neves in the back, João Cancelo. They got players galore.
Ruben Dias at the back as well. Had a belter for Manchester City, Player of the Year in the Prem.
I think I brought it up last week on the pod that Portugal could go back to back.
Yeah, you did. I didn't pay them enough respect beforehand, but their squad is in form. Like that's the important thing. A lot of their players are in form at the moment. God bless you. God bless you. That's a fine.
Yeah, no, Portugal were looking lethal. I watched the mini match today, but them and Spain both had 4-0 wins, and France had a 3-0 win. three hot favourites, I guess.
Germany,
Interesting.
7-1.
Germany, 7-1 Yeah,
I guess
big results
Latvia
flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to know, I guess, when they're
Heavyweights.
playing these smaller
The minnows, yeah.
nations, I guess. But interestingly for Spain, and this will be something that all teams are going to have to manage over the course of the tournament, is like positive COVID cases. So you've got Diego Llorente and Sergio Busquets both testing positive to COVID-19 in recent days. So they're both going to miss Spain's first game. So yeah, that's just going to be you'd hate for, I don't know, Paul Pogba or Harry Kane to somehow get COVID, in a late tournament game. But that's sort of one to look out for. As you mentioned, Bryce, Ben White was added to the England squad in place of Trent Alexander-Arnold. A lot of pundits in England are sort of saying he looks the most assured at international level based on the one game that he played, which is pretty out of the defenders that are there. So they were sort of tipping him out of the England defenders to sort of start in place of Harry Maguire. What do you reckon about that, Alex? Do you think that's fair enough? I mean,
I had a good discussion with my brother about it actually the other day, and I actually put James Ward-Prowse's name forward, but I think just the uncertainty over Maguire, and you've got Tyrone Mings, who probably hasn't brought a lot of form into the recent internationals, and he's struggled a bit. And I think just a bit more depth in that centre of defence definitely helps. And Ben White, I believe he's played like 4 different positions for Brighton this season. So, that versatility is really going to help him. And whether he plays centre mid or wherever, I think it's just, he's going to be a handy player to have, whereas James Ward-Prowse, even though he's really good at set pieces, he's generally only going to be playing centre midfield. So I think that's what Southgate's thinking of anyway when he's included him in the squad.
I just feel like he's got the quintessential lower end of the Premier League / Championship look about him. Not as a player, I think he's a quality player, but the double sleeves, the wrist tape, the big tan, the big quiff. It's just classic Championship style look. And I honestly hadn't heard too much about him until he started being in the England conversation. So it's great having such a unique and diverse group of players in the England squad now, with players that are at the lower end clubs and overseas like Sancho and Bellingham. So actually Bellingham was unreal in that game, and he looked so safe, so sound at that central defensive midfield position. I think he could be vital with Henderson, nowhere near his best, obviously coming back from a bigger injury. So yeah, it's an interesting squad there. I just feel for James Ward-Prowse, because I think I tweeted earlier this year that there is no better sight in Premier League football than watching James Ward-Prowse put in set pieces with blackout tempos. There's just something beautiful about it and classic. It's just a shame they can't see it in the Euros with England.
Yeah, I think the Ben White one's interesting for me, and much has been made of his rise, I guess, into the England squad, and now obviously going to be playing in the Euros, and the fact that this season was his own, his first full season in the Premier League, and he only made his Premier League debut this season. So last season he was playing with Leeds in the Championship. Then the year before that he was playing in League One with Peterborough United, all on loan from Brighton. So he's back playing at his parent club, and he's sort of come through the ranks at Brighton. But what does that tell us, Alex? And like you and I have spoke about this maybe off air and just in general conversations. Like, we put these players in England up on pedestals and English players up on pedestals, but does that kind of show you that maybe the difference between players in the Premier League, for maybe defenders or whoever else, there actually isn't much of a difference between players like Ben White in the Premier League and younger players that are in the Championship and League One? Is that fair to say, or what do you think about that, obviously having experienced what being a player is like in England?
I think obviously they've got to have ability first and foremost, and they've got to have something that makes them stand out from the rest. He's obviously shown that, and ultimately they've got to be consistent as well, playing every week at whatever level. I think that's the only way of getting noticed. I mean, if you're in the Championship, you're always looking to build and progress your career and getting the right opportunities. And I think luck has definitely got a part to play as well, whether, you stay fit or you've got an agent who can get you a move somewhere. I know me saying that sounds a bit silly, but these are the kind of things that can play to a player's advantage at times, and just being liked by someone. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, someone's opinion as to whether you're better than someone else. And there's very thin margins as well involved in that. It's crazy to think that it ultimately comes down to one man's opinion, but that's just the way it is. And, it's like that in a lot of forms of life, I guess, and, lots of occupations.
Yeah, I just want to discuss with you guys now. Do you think that having a kind of wide breadth of different clubs, like lower clubs and some that are just fresh to the Premier League in the squad and some from Europe, is kind of reflective of how the bigger clubs in England don't have as many English players in their squads anymore? I think back when United were in their heyday in the late 2010s and early 2000s, mid 2000s, there was a lot more representation of English players within the top four. So your Chelsea's, Arsenal's, United's, and even City as well. But now you look at the squads, there's only a couple in each squad. So maybe that's kind of reflective in the England squad now.
I'm just watching Stewie hide his sneeze.
I know, he's just trying to sneeze.
He did
I put myself on mute.
Me. That's what I should have done. But yeah, you're right, Bryce. Whatever you said.
I think you're right. I mean, I kind of agree with you, but that was always going to happen, I guess, with that golden generation, I suppose, as they're referred to.
You touched on it last week, didn't you, Bryce, and said that I think Gareth Southgate seems to have picked players solely on form now, rather than a big name.
Big names and things like that. Yeah,
I think that's been
which is interesting.
The biggest difference. Not so much that there are less or more English players within the league. I think, I don't
within
think
the top clubs, I think is my kind of point. Not Premier League, but the top four clubs. So, yeah. But I just feel like it's a bit reflective of that.
I just obviously everything you said, Alex, in terms of yes, Ben White, for instance, using him as an example. I'm just trying to gauge maybe, it's so competitive in England, right? To try and make it in the Premier League, as you would know, it's there would be so many good players, as you would know, that don't make it, into the Premier League. I mean, they obviously make it in other leagues around the world, but there's only a very select few that actually play in England at the top level. There can't be that much difference between players like Ben White and the next person that doesn't play, is what I'm trying to say. It's not that he's not amazing, but it's how many other Ben Whites are there in England that aren't playing, but who I'm sure would have a similar trajectory to go to play in 3 different leagues and now be playing in England. It's kind of, I think he's an example of it just shows you that there is a million other Ben Whites sort of in there that could just be anyone, basically.
His face fits. He's obviously got that look about him, like Bryce touched on earlier, the championship look that Southgate obviously likes.
Mate, pool parties, FIFA, that's
some
kind of thing,
some stereotype, though. Some stereotype.
It fits the bill.
Head and shoulders, the championship look.
I might grow my hair back and book in at the tattoo parlour next week, and maybe I'll get a move.
Get back over there,
sleeve, mate. A few swallows and stuff on the shoulder would be nice.
Swallows, okay. But anyway. That's it. I think it all just comes down to whether your face fits, and like I said earlier, one man's opinion that counts.
That's right. All right, let's look at Wales quickly. Daniel James of Manchester United came out the other day, and I'm paraphrasing here, but pretty much said, don't sleep on the Welsh forward line. Obviously, you got Gareth Bale in there, Dan James.
You got the sniffles now, Stu.
I know. Apologies to the listeners. What do you think about Wales? Are they going to have another special run like they did at Euro 2016, Brycey?
Hal Robson-Kano's not there, is he?
I'll double check.
I don't think he is, no.
Yeah. No, I think they've got I think people will sleep on them like they did at the last Euros, and they managed to surprise everyone, which was just one of the best things to happen in a tournament that I've seen. It was so good. And obviously the Welsh fans are very passionate, so that was great to see. But I mean, Daniel James hasn't exactly had a barnstorming season at United, found himself quite out of favour. Gareth Bale, it wasn't exactly an electric return to Tottenham. That might have been because of the way the squad was going, but he's not heading into the tournament after a world class season at Real Madrid like he did last time. So I think it's very different for them. But who knows? They could surprise everyone again, but I don't think they'll be able to reach those same lofty heights. It's just everything that's going on with their manager with Ryan Giggs. And everything there, it's just I don't know if that'll disrupt them. I mean, they've been playing fine without him there, to be honest, but I don't know. I don't see them reaching those lofty heights, as I said earlier, but I can't wait to watch them play again because I always enjoy watching Wales, especially their fans.
Obviously, they got Aaron Ramsey in at Juventus. I mean, looking at their team now Wayne Hennessy in at keeper, Crystal Palace.
Still, Wayne Hennessy.
Ben Davies, Spurs. Joe Roden, Spurs. Chris Mepham, Bournemouth, who was in the Premier League. Connor Roberts. Nico Williams at Liverpool. Reece Norrington Davies, Sheffield United. I don't know if we saw him in the Premier League, but then you got Ramsey in the midfield. Ethan Ampadu, who's at Chelsea now. I think he was at Sheffield on loan.
No, I think he's signed by Sheffield now.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe Allen. David Brooks, of course, who's still at Bournemouth, who could be leaving there soon. He hasn't yet, but he looked like he was up to Premier League standard a couple of seasons ago. Harry Wilson, of course, who's had a bit of a weird time. And then up top, as I mentioned, you've got Dan James, Tyler Roberts in at Leeds, and Gareth Bale. They're sort of the main players. So, we'll see what happens. Interesting.
And they haven't got the toughest group, I don't think. Well, they've got Switzerland, Turkey, and Italy. I think they need to take points early because I think they've got Italy in the final game. So, I was listening the other day. I think you can scrape through the group, can't you? Can you finish third in some of the groups this time round, or is that right?
Don't know. Actually, we'll probably have to double check that. There might be a playoff rule in there. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not too sure. The best goal difference on most points.
Maybe something like that. But I know from listening to a pod the other day, they were explaining that you only have to win one game to go through. So, that's potentially all some teams have to do to get through the group is only win one game.
Happy days. Too easy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting though. Yeah, usually you have to win two, obviously, to secure your spot. But as you mentioned, Wales are coming up against Italy and Turkey and Switzerland in their group. Italy and Turkey are the first match of the tournament, and that is tomorrow, the 11th of June, on a Saturday morning, Australian time. But 11th of June is tomorrow in Australia, and that's the first game. So not too long to go. Italy, obviously, another squad that you got to watch out for. But, first match of the Euros is going to be kicking off tomorrow. Optus Sports, where you'll find that one. Italy, Turkey, what are you expecting out of that game, Bryce?
Passion. Both sides. It'll be intense, emotional. Italy had a bit of a lull there with their national team, so it's going to be interesting to see how they are set this time around. But Turkey got some handy players there. Calhanoglu, Sir Ange from Leicester City, obviously the beast centre back. So it's going to be interesting to watch that game. I think they're two sides that can get there at the point of the competition and have done in previous ones, but past couple of tournaments they haven't been at their best. So it'll be a really interesting game, actually. Yeah. What time did you say it was on?
It's like 5 a.m. Aussie time, Saturday morning. So that's Sydney time. Sorry.
Might have to book the old annual leave then, boys.
No, it's a Saturday morning here. So
beautiful. Yeah, happy days.
So it'll be kicking off Saturday, 12th of June, 5 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you are listening in conjunction to that in Perth, I believe, 3 in the morning. So no doubt you'll be up, Bryce, and 4 a.m. for you up in Pohang, Alex.
The golden hour.
Yeah, early one.
Don't be too
Interestingly,
enthusiastic.
yeah, just quickly, Mark Milligan actually said Turkey was his smoky, or I believe he said Turkey to win the tournament. So pulling a Greece from Euro 2004, which I thought was pretty interesting. So
Who's paid him to say that?
yeah,
He's just retired, hasn't he?
yeah,
He's announced his retirement. Yeah.
Yeah. So he'll be he's working with Optus Sport, but
Awesome.
yeah, interesting nonetheless. Smoky for sure, as you mentioned, Soyuncu and Demiral from Juventus, and Kabak, who was at Liverpool this year, is Turkish as well. There's a couple of names in there, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. All right, boys, how are we going? We're about 50 minutes in here. That's kind of where the Euros is at. The games are starting tomorrow. I mean, there's also been some big stories in the Premier League that we can quickly gloss over before we wrap this up. We'll give it 10 more minutes for our listeners. Wow, we just got to talk about the Big Six quickly, Bryce. Fill us in with this. They've been sanctioned by the Premier League for their participation in the Breakaway Super League.
Yeah.
However, some are saying it's maybe not tough enough. What do you think?
It's just a blatant slap on the wrist, isn't it? I mean, what is it? £22 million combined between 6 of the richest clubs in the UK. It's just nothing. I just don't think they're not going to learn their lesson from that. But then there's the potential they've been threatened with 25 million each and a 30-point deduction, I think, if they were to break away and create a Super League. So, I mean, the points deduction is where you're really going to hurt teams. I think money-wise, that just seems to be infinite for these kind of clubs at the top end. And the only way you're really going to make a statement and ensure things is points deductions and, disqualification from Champions League where they make their big bucks on TV money and advertising. So I just think it's a slap on the wrist. I mean, I don't know if I'm disappointed by you're disappointed by the breakaway from the Super League, everything obviously, but yeah, it just seems a bit daft, the whole thing now. And who knows, we could look back on this the next couple of years and be, what was that all about, and never get brought up again. But yeah, I'm just not too sure what's going to happen there.
What do you think, Alex, after hearing those sanctions?
Yeah, it does seem pretty lenient, doesn't it? Like Bryce has just said. And yeah, I just think that the whole thing has kind of been just brushed to one side slightly and almost forgotten about, and the repercussions of what's happened. I mean, it's been downplayed massively. And yeah, what was the figure? 22 million? Was
between
it,
the
roughly?
6, yeah.
Yeah, it's absolute farce, isn't it, really? The amount of money. I think the money's going to grassroots, isn't it? Grassroots level. So at least the
cool.
money is nice. Going back into the community and helping in that sense. But maybe they could have chipped in the pockets and dug a little deeper.
I think you're right, though. Like, you want to see points deducted. Imagine if all of those teams started next season -10 or -15 each, like just something like that, because then they got to really earn their spot in the Premier League. But that's what I think would be.
I think that's a bit drastic because then you kind of
is that too drastic?
I think it is, because you're punishing the players, you're punishing the fans then, when really they've had nothing to do with it. I think it ultimately comes down to the owners who've messed up. They're the ones who should be punished. All right, they own the football club, but
that's interesting.
Really
that, like, imagine, you threaten their money, like you threaten the owners' money, the people that are actually making the decisions. That's probably a more just.
But as you said, though, it's like this money's infinite. So
just because Newcastle wasn't involved, and you think Mike Ashley will get him up to the top of the league, it's not happening.
Sports to
no, but what you don't, like how else you go? I know I agree with what you're saying to an extent, but like if you're going to come down hard on the team, surely you've got to punish the players, and that at the end of the day, they're the representative. The club is. They're all one club. You know what I mean? You can't just separate the two when you want.
They're not making the decisions, are they? Like, you don't, like Jurgen Klopp and Jordan Henderson aren't going, yeah, you're right, let's do this. They weren't even consulted about it before it happened. So them getting punished just seems odd. The fans getting punished, as Grant said, seems odd.
I understand where you're coming from.
They're not making
the
decisions.
Because if you look at other clubs in the past who struggled financially, they have been punished with points deductions. You saw Sheffield Wednesday with it last season. I think there was another club as well. And like when I was at Portsmouth, you know, they went into administration and they were given penalties with reduction of points. So yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from in that sense as well. And it does seem a little unfair that, is it because there's 6 clubs involved? Is it 6? Did you say that?
I thought it was 6. Yeah.
The big 6.
Oh, yeah. Arsenal! I mean, come on, Arsenal and Spurs, please.
Yeah,
but I just think there's so much talk about bad owners and how it's, you know, it's really hurting English football, especially in the lower leagues with you know, owners coming with lofty ambitions. Club hasn't done their due diligence, or they're desperate for the cash, so they take them on, and then things don't work out. Would not having that threat to owners if things aren't well run and there's big decisions made that are poor, they personally get prosecuted for it rather than the club being punished.
Yeah, but it just doesn't work like that. Like, you know, changing codes here. But if Essendon supplements are in the AFL, but it was like, it's just like that was a club thing. I know it's a different kettle of fish, but the players.
I think it's too different because of what happened. Like each player.
Yeah, I know, but the players got banned for something that the club did. It's like you can't separate the two, and it's like the Premier League have separated the two because there's so much. They bring in so much money, so the Premier League probably can't afford not to have these teams up the top. That's like the catch-22 they're in many ways. But
yeah, that will always protect them, won't they?
Yeah, so like that's the problem with it, and that's the corruption, I suppose, that's at play, and that's why there's all these calls for independent regulators. And anyway, the problems run deep, and it's not a fair and level playing field, even though it seems like it is. Let's have a look at some other quick news. Obviously, Wolves have appointed a new manager, former Benfica boss Bruno Lage. Hopefully I said that correctly, his name.
Fantastic pronunciation.
As the new manager. Spurs have opened talks with former Roma boss Paulo Fonseca about
no one wants
there.
to coach Spurs, I swear.
Nah.
There's been like that many people
Conte, maybe not. Nah. Spurs are expected to confirm Fabio Paratici as a new sporting director. What does a sporting director really do? That's, you know, why does Spurs need a sporting director, Alex? You've been in clubs, like, you know, what's this man going to do? What's Fabio Paratici potentially going to do that Daniel Levy couldn't do by himself?
Well, that's it. I think he's just the link between the football.
But what is the link? Like, what is the day-to-day link? Like, what did Jacob Burns do at Perth Glory when you were there, for instance? Like, what does his actual day-to-day job look like that is this link?
You'd have to ask him. You know,
but from what you saw.
Burns, he travelled to most games away. He was always in and around the changing room on match days. He'd attend most training sessions, come down to the field, help lads out on the pitch. Talk
to players.
Yeah, and with regards to contracts, he was the one sorting that all out, talking to the coaching staff, who the coaching staff wants, what players they're looking to bring in, all these kind of things. I think it's a massive job within the football, a very important job as well, I think. And it's definitely the link between the football side of things and the hierarchies above. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a key role, and I think from what I've seen in my experience, it's very much the taking care of the contracts, looking at potential targets for transfers, seeing who they can get money for in the transfer market from their side as well, and then providing that link between the coach and helping him hire who he wants, his assistants, physios and things like that, making sure that's sound and all on the same page and having a clear direction with their strategy and how they play, obviously to differing degrees depending on how influential the manager is, and how they go about their business and what the kind of characters they recruit as well. So I've seen that from a rugby side with head of rugby here. You've got Hodjo doing it. There's a lot of transfer work and making sure that they're constantly looking at contracts and who they can bring in and who's on the out.
Okay, maybe that's why they're bringing in a sporting director, because no one actually wants to play for Spurs as well. So there you go. And this is, you know, you mentioned before, Bryce, Spurs and Arsenal are barely in the Big Six. How's this for a coup for Villa, agreeing a club record £33 million deal for Norwich midfielder Emiliano Buendia, who was playing in the Premier a couple of seasons ago, but has been in the Championship and actually got Norwich promoted. But Arsenal also put in a bid, and I believe he chose Villa.
How times have changed. It's just, I never thought I'd see the day where Villa outdo Arsenal for a transfer target. It's wild, but it's great. I mean, Villa are a better side than Arsenal. They were this season, and I just think that's a real wake up. It should be a real wake up call for them, for Arsenal, that is.
I feel like everybody wants a club, like everybody wants Villa to do better than Arsenal.
Yeah.
Anyway, everyone is kind of enjoying seeing Arsenal slide, which is pretty funny.
It's been going a long time.
Yeah, finally, been coming a long time. And Jenny Wijnaldum's actually gone to PSG, not Barcelona. It seems like PSG have doubled his salary, so he's gone there on a free transfer. It's out to Barcelona, but you'll probably be seeing. You will be seeing Wijnaldum playing for PSG in the Champions League with Neymar and co next season. All right, boys, let's leave it there. That's about an hour's long. It was a bit of a mission. We had some technical difficulties, but if you are listening still, don't forget to head over to our socials at Shooting Zars on Instagram, at Zars Shooting on Twitter. Like, subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. We are putting these episodes up on YouTube as well, so I'll have to weave a bit of magic on the edit to make this one work, but we'll get it up there. But Bryce, any final comments before the first game? Who's going to win Italy, Turkey in the Euros?
Turkey will win 2-1, and I'm hanging out for that England-Croatia game, 9 p.m. Australian Western Standard Times on Sunday. Going to be a belter.
Yes, there we go. So that's England's first game as well. Al, I know you'll be watching that. When are you off on your Asian Champions League travels? How long?
Friday it is. We're off.
Friday.
So I have to pack the laptop up and hopefully I'll have a decent microphone by then, so the audio quality can be improved slightly. I think your headphones do a good job, Stu. You always sound pretty clear.
I've actually, we're all I am trying to sort out a new microphone as well, so bear with us on that one. But we'll have to get a couple pods in, or we'll try to get a couple episodes in, especially after the England game on Sunday for sure. We'll wrap up the weekend's action maybe on Monday, and then we'll come together again just before Alex heads off, if we can fit it in with our schedules as well. But fellas, that's it. Thanks for joining us tonight.
No problem, Stu.
No.
Been a pleasure. Yeah, it's been fantastic as always. Loved it.
Absolute pleasure. Cheers, Stewie. Cheers, Granty.
And of course, thanks to everybody that tuned in. We'll chat to you again very soon.